Hello, my name is Kenya Bryant. Today I will be presenting my senior thesis, and my senior thesis is the relationship between cancer remission and depression. My research question is what is the relationship between cancer remission and depression? Many patients who are in remission do suffer from depression. They are entering a new phase in their life. Some are dealing with a new body, and even some are dealing with the debt of their treatment for their cancer. And there's a lot of focus on healing the patients, but not on their psychological needs. Many of the studies that are presented in my thesis focused on the relationship between cancer and depression. There weren't a lot of studies that focused on cancer remission and depression. My studies came from around the world. One came from Iran, one came from Germany, and one came from Pakistan. My thesis is divided into three parts: breast cancer, other forms of cancer, and fear of recurrence. I actually found quite a few studies on breast cancer. Breast cancer does mainly affect women, but it does affect men, but it's rare. One particular study that I included in my thesis was a study done in Iran that focused on Iranian women. It found that the rates of depression do differ based on where the person lives. And that could be due to cultural reasons. And it also can be due to the healthcare system because every healthcare system operates differently. Some countries have free healthcare while others you have to pay. So that plays a part into it. And one thing that breast cancer patients, not all breast cancer patients, but some, they've had to have a breast or both breasts removed, and it could affect their self-esteem, and they may not feel, attractive or even feel womanly enough. And other forms of cancer, a lot of studies actually didn't just focus on one particular type of cancer. They actually included all types of cancers in their studies. One particular German study found that people who suffer from cancer have higher rates of depression than the population that doesn't suffer from cancer. Um, and they also found that patients who have brain tumors are 9 times more likely to have depression, and they also found that prostate cancer tend to have low rates of depression. And the fear of recurrence is actually the number one fear among cancer patients. They fear that the cancer may return in the same spot or a different spot, and they may fear that they may die. And a lot of patients, they just don't want to relive the ordeal again. And cancer is very expensive, so many are probably already having money issues and they don't want to go through that again. So that's the three parts that I focused on in my thesis. 150 participants were included in my study. I used both men and women between the ages of 18 and 84. They were split up into two groups. Half of the participants were in remission for cancer for a year or more, and the other half would have cancer. I included all types of cancers in my study. The study took note of the type of surgery that they have had. The rest of my study included African American, Caucasian, and Asian, and my participants were required to live in the Durham and Chapel Hill area. The way I recruited my participants was by investigating the Duke database and the UNC database. I assessed the medical records for each patient. I sent out an email to each participant asking if they would like to participate in my study. I informed them why I was doing the study, and I informed them about the study. and they responded by clicking on a link sent through the email. I measure X and Y by giving the participants a survey. The survey didn't take no longer than 15 minutes, and I used the depression scale to measure recent symptoms of depression. The study took place in Durham, North Carolina at Duke Hospital. All participants were required to sign a consent form before completing their survey. They were given a link to the survey to take, and the data was collected and analyzed using SPSS version 16. I measured the data using descriptive statistic, and descriptive statistics is a summary statistic that describes or summarizes features of a collection of information. And this is just a list of my references, and that's all that I have for you. Thank you for listening.